Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. My name's George Robson.
I'm Peter.
So Peter, I love systems. I'm a nerd for systems and operations.
You are a nerd,
frameworks.
George.
That's true. I'm wearing glasses right now. Do you have any systems or frameworks that have helped you to think about investing specifically, and maybe frameworks that listeners might not have thought about or I might not have thought about?
I've told people a lot in the past, live off of your recurring income and invest the bumps. So George, most people make the bulk of their money as W-2 income from the salary from their job that they have. And then what they do, they've designed this life that eats up all of that money that they just taken home after they paid the largest possible amount in taxes on that W-2 income. And then they even go further and go into credit card debt to fund lifestyle purchases and discretionary purchases and rack up credit card debt. I mean, none of it makes any sense. So a system that I tell people about is to live off the recurring and invest the bumps. So what are the bumps? The bumps are one-time, non-recurring financial events that occur in your life. Examples of bumps are inheritance, for those of us where inheritance occurs in our life. Tax refunds, that's a big one. We're going to talk more about that. The sale of goods or assets, and perhaps existing investments that we might have or have come into in our lives. So when these events occur that are non-recurring financial events, I recommend to everybody redeploy that money into investments. Don't spend it. Don't go buy dumb shit. Don't piss it away. Redeploy it into investments. And over time, that's how you grow to have a net worth that exceeds the amount of your annual W-2 income, post-tax, by the way. And over time, that's how you grow to build up an asset base that you can then manage and seek to spread out, diversify, or put into real estate or put into whatever it is that you want. But you have to get there. It doesn't just come up automatically. It happens over time for most of us. You know, my early years, I didn't own a car. I didn't go on expensive vacations. I mooched off my brothers and my friends as much as possible. Thank you out there to everybody that allowed me to do that. And it was a lot of you. But my point is that it builds over time. You don't wake up one day and have millions of dollars sitting there that you didn't yesterday. Nothing happens overnight, especially in my business, commercial real estate. And you have to build, you have to grow, you have to start somewhere. So start. Listen, while you're earning the bulk of your income as W-2 income from your job and paying so much in taxes on that income, be disciplined. Make sure you're making right decisions to be able to fund your life with that W-2 income, but have some left over, be able to invest with it. And so, you know, if you look at your income like a graph or a chart, it resembles often a cardiogram. When you go to the doctor, you'll see a straight line, straight line, straight line, and boom, a bump. Straight line, boom, a bump. And that's what income looks like for most of us in our lifetime. For much of our life, the income is flat, 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 but those bumps do occur. When those bumps occur, recognize it, seize it, and invest it.
Yeah, the key thing seems to be the awareness and the preparation for those moments. Those moments might be unexpected, but if you have prepared in advance, then knowing that those things may occur.
So let's talk about the annual tax refund, because that happens for most people most years, right? We sit around, we work, we earn our W-2 income, the taxes are pulled out, we get our net pay, and then every March we file our taxes, and then we sit around and wait for some refund to occur, $3,000, $5,000, $8,000, whatever it is. And when we get that money, immediately it's spent on shit that we already bought before we even got the refund. Back rent, maintenance, repairs, auto expense, whatever it is. And really what you need to do is get that 3, 5, 8, 10,000, whatever your amount is, get it and invest it. That's a big opportunity, but we squander it. We wait for that check to come so we can go on a trip to Tulum and take selfies and go up on TikTok wearing bikinis and do the dance, and we look all hot and sexy, and we're out the 10 grand, and now we got to wait for another year cycle to go by before we get some more money from a bump. So I tell people all the time, live off your recurring income, invest the bumps, and you will definitely be on a path. And do all those other things that we talk about. Get a personal financial statement, manage it. You're going to see those bumps of income that you get that you then invest. You're going to see your personal financial statement start to grow. That's one way to make it grow.
I would imagine those bumps really fuel the motivation and the kind of the momentum that when you see, that significant shift in your net worth and in your investments.
Oh, yeah.
That helps a lot with continuing the habit of doing it.
Visually, when you see and measure, and when you get results and you see those results, man, it's great. It's a great feeling. Who doesn't love that? And this is one way to get that result.
Yeah.
So you're going to live off the recurring, invest the bumps, put the bumps into investments, put the investments charted on your personal financial statement, and you're golden. Keep at it. Don't give up, right? Perseverance. Don't give up. Be resilient about it.
So speaking of investing, we often tell people to go to siegelcapital.com, take our accredited investor questionnaire.
Yeah.
What's on the other side of that? What can they expect? What are kind of the steps after that?
So if you're an accredited investor, or if you want to find out if you're accredited, you'll take that questionnaire. And then if you present as an accredited investor, we'll reach out to you. We'll send you an offering for the current acquisition that we're underway in making. You'll review it. If you think it's right for you, you'll let us know. You'll then be presented with subscription agreements, LLC membership purchase agreements, a set of documents like that, which will pertain to your investing in the real estate with us. You'll get reporting quarterly, annually, that talks about your investment in this particular deal. And most importantly, George, you'll get checks. You'll get distributions. So the main reason why we want people to consider investing in commercial income producing real estate is to get recurring distributions from their investment. So you can expect that to be the general process. And if there's more that you have questions on or want to know, reach out to me, DM me, email me. You can go to siegelcapital.com and contact me through the website. And we're here to answer your questions and to make access to real estate investing available to accredited investors.
Yeah, sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Peter, one of my favorite quotes that I've heard you say before is, to achieve what is expected, do the work of one. To achieve the unimaginable, do the work of many.
Right.
It's one of the first things that popped out when we first started talking. How do you do the work of many?
A few different ways. So doing the work of one is your regular 9 to 5, 8-hour day, right? But there's 24 hours in a day. So what do you do with the other 16 hours? So to do the work of many, you got to fill up those other 16 hours with things that are going to better you and further you along your path. You come home from your 9 to 5, immediately, if you start watching video games, or if you're on Netflix, or if you're beating off, or if you're sitting around with your thumb up your ass, or whatever it is that you're doing, God bless you. Just don't complain that life isn't working out for you. Don't complain that the system's not working for you, or whatever it is that you might be complaining about if you're a complainer. If you're not complaining and your 9 to 5 thing is doing it for you, God bless you. You've won. Game over. But if you want more out of life, you got to figure out how to use those other 16 hours. We all have to sleep 6 or 8 of those 16 hours. So now you got maybe 10 or 9 hours left. What are you going to do with them? You should be honing skills, becoming an expert in so many different things. We've talked a lot about that, George. Become an expert in new things and things that are vertical and horizontal to your core area of focus or interest. Are you reading? Are you learning? Are you expanding your mind? Are you gaining life experiences, which you can then take those life experiences and apply them to relationships and to your core area of focus? This is what you should be doing, because I promise you that other successful people who are hungrier for more and who want to achieve more, that's what they're doing. And the people that are getting ahead of you, that are making you pissed off about it, that's what they're doing, right? They're waking up earlier. They're reading annual reports and quarterly reports and investor reports and the newspaper and books. They're doing all of that stuff. So while you're sleeping, they're reading, right? Or when you come home from work at 5 o'clock, they're immediately going to their side gig that they want to expand and grow and develop. What are you doing? I mean, are you just fucking around grabbing a beer, sitting outside on your back porch? Great if you are. Again, I love it. No one loves fucking around more than me, but I wait till I've taken care of my business first before I fuck around. What are you doing? Are you waiting, or are you just jumping into the fucking around part?
Yeah, and that goes back to something, we've talked a lot about, knowing your goals and knowing the why. And if you know your goals and you know your why, then you can prepare, appropriately.
Absolutely.
And say, okay, well, when I get home, these are the X, Y, and Z things that I need to get done. If you don't know, then Netflix is going to be the default.
So doing the work of one is putting in an 8-hour day. That's what our society, our system is set up to expect from us. An 8-hour day, 9 to 5. I mean, that's a cultural phrase, 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, right? That's why it's in the song. If you want more out of life, figure out how to work from 5 to 9. In the 5 to 9 time slot exists so many opportunities to learn, grow, expand, become an expert, gain new experiences, try new things that you're going to be able to then deploy into your core area of focus and interest, and you're going to fuel your success.
Yeah, working 5 to 9, I love that.
Yeah, man.
That actually reminds me of this listener question that I was going to bring up later, but I'll bring it up now. This is a listener question from LinkedIn, actually.
Thank you, LinkedIn.
I haven't had a LinkedIn one yet. Having trouble with self-discipline, it sucks. Help.
Self-discipline sucks. Well, look, self-discipline doesn't suck. That's the first thing. You're already starting off negative. So I say to the listener, the person who asked the question, you're coming out of the gate negative, man. So the positive spin on that is self-discipline's an opportunity. You're not yet doing it. How do you do it? People have talked about and written about self-discipline, success habits, habits of highly effective people, Stephen Covey, for a long time, right? We've all seen and heard a lot of these lists and bullet points and recommendations for how to be successful, or the differences between successful people and not successful people. And these points, these talking points, they're all similar, right? They all sort of sound the same. There's a reason they sound the same, because they're true. These people who have spoken about these effective habits of successful people and how to be successful, I mean, they all have a commonality. Some of them, not all of them, are, get up early, be focused, create goals, measure your performance, right? Manage and measure your performance. Begin with the end in mind, from Stephen Covey. I always love that one. These are all truisms that successful people have, that disciplined people have. Yeah, you know what? Working sucks. Being disciplined sucks. You know what else sucks? Regret. You know what else sucks? Failure and giving up. Not failure and continuing. I like failure and continuing. Failure and giving up fucking sucks. So if all the paths sort of suck, which one do you ultimately want to be on? Do you want to be on the one that will yield you some fruit along the way? Or do you want to be on the one that just shuts the door and you kick up your feet on an ottoman and call it a day, start drinking a beer and say, well, this is it for me? I mean, I don't want the regret. I know that all the successful people I know, they don't have regrets. They get fueled by failure. Failure is a learning opportunity for them. I mean, Thomas Edison, right? He fucked up making the light bulb 10,000 times. He didn't say, I fucked up making a light bulb 10,000 times. He said, well, I figured out 10,000 ways not to do it, and then I figured out the way to do it. It's a highly resilient, highly optimistic way to think. And that's what people who are disciplined and successful and who achieve, that's how they think. So I say to you, consider this. If self-discipline sucks, how do you feel about regret and quitting? Because to me, that sucks worse.
Yeah. So just a moment ago, Peter, you were talking about how successful people think. What are some of the ways that these people think that are different than the rest of us? Like, what sets them apart, do you think, than...
So my sort of favorite and recurring bullet points about the kinds of people in this question that you're asking me are that they're super resilient. They fall down, get right back up. Fall down, get right back up. Dust it off, get right back up. I mean, that's a big thing that I see often. They have goals written down. They can chart a path to achieving the goal, because I believe that achieving goals is just little bits of problem solving along the way, right? You don't just take a huge bite of the apple, throw the whole apple in your mouth and swallow it, I mean, you take little bites of the apple, and then one day you're there. So great problem solvers. They're very positive thinkers. They have a quest for learning. They never feel like they're being minimized or spoken down to. Rather, instead, they look at those moments as learning opportunities and learning moments. I'm fascinated with people who are very successful. And there's so many people who are more successful than me. I eat it up. So when I meet these people and come into contact with them, I just want to know. I want to ask them questions. We also don't ask enough questions. I like to ask questions about people's wealth and success and how they achieved what they've achieved in life. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. Perseverance, resilience, not giving up. You have that belief inside that you can do it, that you know your idea is good. You know you're as good or better than your peer or your competitor. Well, if you know, then go out and do it. And I'm always fascinated to hear those stories. I love asking people older than me who have had a great amount of success in their life, how they got there. And I love listening to the stories. 99 out of 100 times they talk about resilience, perseverance, not giving up. I mean, these things that we always talk about here, that everyone hears in books and online and social media platforms. I mean, this is the stuff that's being talked about. It's all true. It all works. And it's all connected. So while no one person is right about all of it on how to be successful and what makes an accredited investor get to the point where they can be an accredited investor, it's a combination of so many different people and sources of information, but it's all connected and it's all super similar. And pay attention to it and listen to it, and I think you're going to hear the same things that everyone's saying over and over and over and over again. I like to talk about setting goals, managing your performance, measuring your performance to achieve the goals. I like to talk about thinking positively. And I'm a fighter, so I like to talk about perseverance, and I like to talk about resilience because I think that those are fighter qualities. You need some of that.
Last question before Zest Quests.
Okay.
Are there any possessions that represent success for you? You have people like Gary Vee with his dream about owning the jets, or Grant Cardone with his literal jet, or even back in the day, Zig Ziglar, dreamed to get in a pool, and that was kind of like, that thing that he was aspiring to. Is there any kind of physical thing that you aspire to as a successful person?
I feel like this is a trick question, and I'm not going to fall for it. So you know the deal. You've asked me this before. I don't equate success to material things. For me, it's about health, happiness, spirit, family, and friends. That's what I live for. That's why I do what I do. That's my why. We've talked about that in a previous episode. I have things that are fun for me to do, and sometimes I might spend money on some of those things that are fun, but I would never equate a sexy pool in my backyard to, I've made it, and I would never equate having a private jet to, look at me, I've got a private jet, like I think in the example that you've just cited for that guy. Look, having a jet is great, and it's a great business tool, and I think that particular individual uses a jet to fuel his business and do more business, which I support. I mean, to me, it's the same as having a cell phone or a computer. And if you can afford a jet, get a jet, you're going to do more business. And for Gary, with his dream of having the jets, I mean, that I really connect to and respect, because that, for him, is on a cellular level, deep within him from when he was a kid. And he's now like living out his childhood dreams by talking about and maybe one day pursuing a run at the Jets, should that ever materialize for him, and I hope it does. But having a pool or a house or an expensive car, I mean, it's all bullshit. I mean, definitely don't do those things until you have so much money that you can afford to do those things. The problem I have with people is that they do those things on the come up rather than when they've already arrived. And when you buy expensive cars or $3,000 Brioni suits when you're not worth a ton of money yet, you're just blowing money that you could otherwise use to be invested somewhere. So for me, definitely material possessions have zero connection to an attribute of being successful or happiness, My happissness comes from my family and friends and great experiences with them. And
yeah, what I hear you saying is there's a lot of the intention is important. That obviously, with the jet example, it's fine to have a jet for business expenses, but to flaunt it, the intentions are misplaced.
To flaunt anything, you just
yeah.
sort of, it's a douche move, and so just don't flaunt. I mean, there's always someone wealthier than you. So as soon as you start flaunting, all you have to do is look to your right 6 inches, and there's going to be someone who can crush you back to an ant again. And so why are you flaunting? And just it's just have some class. Flaunting anything is never a great idea, unless you're on a team that beat your rivals. You can go flaunt a win, but flaunting a material possession, just douche move. And there's a lot of wealthy people out there that do a lot of flaunting, and it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Bad example.
Yeah. All right. So on his Zest quests.
Okay. Zest it out, George.
Yeah. This might be a softball, but I'm actually still curious about the answer.
Did you just say softball?
A softball. Yeah.
Are you throwing me softballs?
Yeah. Well, I hope not. We'll find out. We'll find out what happens.
Throw me that softball.
If you had to give a TED talk tomorrow, what would you do? What would you talk about? What would you give it on?
I tell people this all the time, especially if you're from the left coast or the right coast or in a densely populated region, wherever you may live. Find a place that's far out in the middle of nowhere. For me, it was the Rocky Mountains out west in Colorado. For other people, it can be New Mexico, Montana, Wyoming. I mean, these places in the middle of our country here in the United States, they're these fantastic places, sprawling, distant, wide open, expansive views, incredible elevations, incredible sights and colors. I mean, the air tastes different, smells different, and feels different when you breathe it. So I tell people to go find a place, pick a place, doesn't matter where it is. Leave your home joint, go out there, spend a week, whatever you can do. It changes your mind, it'll blow your mind. I mean, it's mind expanding. And I tell people to do that all the time. And the benefits of that, I think, are many. And if you're not from this country, there's equivalents to where you live or nearby to where you live, and seek them out and go to those places. But I think going to a far out place, a desert or a woodsy environment or forest environment or a mountains, coastal, whatever it is, get away from people and density, get a little bit more off the grid, get away from the sort of daily consumerism machine that we're all a part of in daily life, and get away from that and breathe a different flavor air and go for a swim in some really cold fucking water and see what happens. I mean, it's invigorating, it's rejuvenating, and I would talk about that.
Cool. TED Talk 2020, Peter Siegel, flavored air.
Thank you.
I like it.
Flavored air. Yeah.
And final question, what's a trend right now that you're not about?
A trend that I'm not about?
Yeah.
I mean, on social media platforms, I'd like to see people use those platforms less for flaunting their physical attributes in often silly ways, and more for flaunting other attributes that they have. I think a lot about that, especially for young people who are really getting sucked into the social media thing, and a lot of times wearing little clothing and dancing around. I mean, it's fun, but when you're doing it every day and that's like your main thing that you're doing, maybe try something else. I mean, I know that these people have other great things and qualities about them, and I'd love to see them.
Yeah, I love that. We'll hopefully be on the lookout for some deeper and more positive attributes.
Yeah, or if you're going to be dancing around in a bikini, at least read to me from
Hamlet,
or make it cultural in some way. I would really appreciate that. Would be a trend I would be down with instead of not about.
Yeah, Robert Putnam back in the 80s had that book Bowling Alone, and he talked about the difference between a telephone and television, how a telephone connects you to people, television isolates you.
Yeah.
And I find it's a helpful kind of, paradigm to think about social media, where if you're using the social media as a telephone, then it's all well and good, but so often most of us are only using it as a television.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Robson, quoting Putnam from the 80s. Come on. That's my guy. That's my G-Rock right there. Thanks, George.
Yeah, no problem. All right, well, I guess we'll see you next week. I appreciate you taking the time, Peter, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks.
If you like what you just heard, you can subscribe to The Daily Cash Flow on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'd love it if you left us a review. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at SiegelCap and on Instagram at Siegel.cap. As always, if you're an accredited investor, go to SiegelCapital.com and take our survey to see if you qualify to take part in one of our apartment building deals. That's SIEGEL Capital.com.